Demons and angels, or suras and asuras, use humans for their games. How does this happen and what are the consequences?
I had an experience where I knew a woman who had made significant strides in the direction of sorcery and magic, and she applied all of it. And at some point she became friends with a sura and an angel, with a representative of the sura race, so to speak. And they developed a relationship which she considered to be friendly. He protected her, shielding her from other magicians and sorcerers who were there, as they had some ongoing conflicts and constant battles. In other words, it was quite lively there. He began to shed blood, casting away everyone who tried to harm her. Then he started to dismiss ordinary people who simply argued, quarreled, or had disputes with her. He would push anyone off the road when he was driving. Whoever harms him energetically immediately harms their internal organs. In other words, he was protecting her. And she was generally satisfied until the moment she decided to develop herself further. But she is not allowed to develop further because then he becomes useless to her and he wants to be her protector. In other words, he has such a need. For him, she is like a pet, like a kitten he has taken in, protects and cares for. Yet you are in a golden cage.
So, did she end up signing some kind of contract?
There is no such thing as a blood seal. It's purely a matter of a person's position. If they allow it, then it happens. There is nothing to sign there. You simply allow it at all your levels. You allow it at the energy level. You allow it at the mental level. You allow it at the physical level. That's it. It has happened.
How is this world arranged with the suras?
Our space is called the egg of the universe. Within this egg, there are various realms. Different forms of life are manifested in these various realms. All of this emerged from the original. However, having emerged from the original, it begins to act independently. And we are currently in a layer of such matter, understandable to us, accessible, very limited, and very narrowed in perception. They exist in a higher frequency layer. They also have bodies. They also push against each other. They can also fight. But relative to us, they are very fast, very agile. They are like, I don't know, maybe not radio waves, but like plasma, for example.
But we do not see them physically.
Can we see them if we pull them here? We can. But as soon as you see them in a physical body, your physical body will likely burn. It's like stepping into a thermonuclear reactor where plasma is swirling. You cannot enter there physically, no way. Yes, you can enter there with your consciousness. You can enter there with your sight. Yes, but do not approach.
That is, we interact with them not directly, but through consciousness.
Interaction primarily occurs through consciousness and energy. They have bodies, and these bodies have quite specific outlines, meaning you can see them. They have interpersonal conflicts, meaning they are fighting among themselves. There is a causality to this war, these hostilities. They have practitioners among both groups. That is, if you talk about a demon, it doesn't mean that he is bad. It's like races. Humans have a race, and all races have their own traditions, their own religions, and their own paths. All races have it. It's the same there. It's just that demons are more explosive, emotional, proud, and jealous. They have all these demonic qualities, but at the same time, they practice in such a crazy way, like standing on one leg for 10,000 years, and then just go on, having stood there. I went there. I need Shiva to descend to me. I will be doing asceticism for myself. So he is doing asceticism until Shiva descends. That is, they are just insane in all of this. By the way, there are mantras, very powerful mantras, that were created by some practicing demonic beings. These mantras are of very high quality. They work, they still work. And they are used by people, these mantras, although they were created by demons in their practices. But there are also demons who do not practice, who are satisfied in their own worlds, content with their passions, and engage in various equal battles, skirmishes, and all that sort of thing. There is neither this, nor that, nor is there this. Among the angelic beings, these archangelic entities, there are also practitioners. They have slightly different concepts. They are more focused on their understanding of justice, their understanding of morality, what is right, what is proper, what should be. They are more oriented towards Abraham, towards God, who creates this reality, and they listen closely. Everything should be as it is, so that everything is good. Demons do not. We want it to be as I wish. He is ready to fight everyone regardless of the explosive nature of these beings. Among them, there are also practitioners, and they created a very powerful avatar for manifestation, for the entry of the energy of the Odikalia, which cannot enter here because they are even more insane in their speeds, to the point that even a demon would burn if an Odikalia approached him. They created an avatar, and she entered this avatar, This avatar is called Tripura Sundari, and this is their practice. This is their action. In other words, everything is good there. There is life.
Religious movements also inform us about the existence of such demons and angels. Can you tell me what they are called in different religions?
There is a lot of information about this in Hinduism. A lot. You probably finished with Hinduism. Well, in Buddhism, there is something else.
In Hinduism, it's the Devas and Asuras, right?
Yes, the maidens are also angels.
And what about in Christianity?
Well, angels and demons.
Demon, devil, is everything going there too?
Listen, well, theoretically, yes. But in Christianity, it barely touches on this, to the point that they started attributing these qualities to people. In other words, they mixed the cold with the white, and that was it. Chaos emerged immediately. In Hinduism, everything is clear-cut. Here are the Sura beings, and there are the Asura beings. Here is a human, and there is Brahma, and over there is Vishnu.
If a person wants to solidify a deal with such a being, what can they gain, and what do they pay for it?
He pays with his freedom naturally, meaning he will now be a subordinate, but he can essentially get anything he wants. It is quite simple for them to manifest and assist in the material world. Well, if he wants to become rich, for example, he will become rich. This demon or angel will help him, but he will not be free. He will not be free. That is the...
What will he do? What freedom is he losing? What exactly will he have to do?
He must satisfy the passions of whoever he makes a deal with. But what passions will he have? This, of course, is known only to the demon who will be playing with him.
So he is supposed to become the devoted one of this being.
Devotion, yes. Again, look, you got a dog. What do you expect from it? That it loves you, that it obeys you. So that she follows orders, but in return, you take care of her, feed her, heal her, walk with her, go there. Well, when she arrives, well, you walk, you go. And as soon as the dog, for example, saw another dog and ran off, you are with me. What are you doing? Where are you running? No, now you are my property. And this is what he will impose on you. Whatever rules he will impose anything on you, just anything.
And among spiritual teachers, are there people on such contracts?
Of course there are. And sometimes there are master teachers who owe the manifestation of their mastery to those who stand behind them. They can give hints, they can whisper, they can manipulate the material world, as if you are the one providing help, but in reality, it is he who is exerting influence, simply because he can do it and he has a good attitude towards you. However, he will still demand something from you. He will require loyalty.
And what happens if such a person ends their life while under such a contract?
You know, I've never seen a person like that die. But I suppose that if he indeed retains his little cloud of consciousness, it's quite possible that he could transfer to the space where these demons live and manifest there. Well, like some strange little thing. And to continue existing there in another body, in another form, I can accept that. But I myself have not delved into such processes. I once touched all these processes of the 3-meter shelf a long time ago, back when I said no. To hell with it, I prefer freedom.
Have you met people with such beings behind them?
I have met people who interacted with this, but it has never happened that they both approached me for some reason.
So tell me, what is the point of practicing if you can make a contract with such a being, and it will give you everything you want?
The point is that it will take from you what it wants. You see, someone works their whole life in a corporation, and they are fine with it. But the corporation completely owns the person's life. They enter it after university, and leave it upon retirement. Such is his life. That's it. Meanwhile, some people start their own business and simply refuse to acknowledge the processes that will shape their life path, beyond the will of the person themselves. But some people don't build anything. They just go off somewhere to the third world and chill on the beach, getting by with some. There is no right solution here. There is a solution. Such a solution exists. But again, there is a very important parameter called you will grow old and die. And when you come face to face, not with a demon, but with your death, which will touch you, what will you say then? Am I satisfied with my life? Or will you say that I have wasted my whole life on some nonsense, and I just have empty pockets even though I thought I had everything? Death is very sobering. It awakens you. But mostly this happens when it's already too late to change anything. And here's the same thing. I'll add a little remark. When a person forbids themselves something their whole life, wanting it but forbidding it for some ridiculous reasons, it doesn't matter what those reasons are. When they meet their death, what will they tell it? Death, I forbade myself this my whole life. She doesn't care at all about what you forbade yourself. She has already touched you. Therefore, by engaging with these processes in her practices, we had practices of contact with death. This is a very perception-altering practice. When you walk from your side, when you take the initiative to touch your own death, it is safe. When death takes the initiative to touch you, it is the end. And when you, taking the initiative, touch these energies, become permeated by them, feel them, oh, how sobering it is. Oh, how all your concepts instantly fly into the trash. All the importance you conveyed, this is important, that is important, all of this suddenly becomes unimportant.
How can you recognize that a person is playing this game with a demon, an angel, or a sura? How is this visible from the outside?
Don't be shy, just talk about it openly. Just based on the speech, on the words he uses. I was shown, I saw, I was given, I was taken away. Someone helped me. In other words, the person himself begins to voice this.
Is channeling part of that too?
And here it is an endless abyss. Yes, a person can make contact with a vast number of self-aware structures. Which one did he make contact with? Or is he just sitting there and rambling? It's hard to understand to what extent.
And the wars of light.
It's all cartoons. It's a game.
People who call themselves warriors of light. I know a woman who is in contact with angels. She says that she fights against evil in the name of light. This, it turns out, is also a game of these forces.
I mentioned that angels fight with demons. If angels have pets, yes, battle dogs, then demons also have pets, battle dogs, and they will bite each other. But not because they need to. Because they are under control. It's the same with me. I have a dog, I take care of her. But if a bully attacks me, I will say, go get him, and she will run.
And what are they fighting each other for?
What else can they do? Well, we also fight among ourselves.
But it turns out that, roughly speaking, there is a whole world in which two races oppose each other. A race of beings, and they interact there. It's as if they are forced to carve out their own space in this trap.
Well, they are fighting, not only for space, but also for power, for the ability to move, for places of power, simply for artifacts. And in general, their main conflict arose again because of an artifact. If you read the books about how all this started, the story is very simple. At first, there were just beings. Brahma was training to create a world, while our God, the Creator, was creating a world. He created such worlds. Then, he decided to make some adjustments. He got bored. He made adjustments and allowed beings to reproduce. The beings began to reproduce. There were more and more of them. More. At some point, Brahma and these beings came and said, listen, Brahma, there are too many of us. Well, there isn't enough space anymore. We need to come up with something. He says, yes, and indeed, what the hell did he get? Let's come up with something now. He thought of death, that you not only are born, but also die. These beings come to him again and say, listen, does that mean we will also die? He says that you will die. They are like, listen, this is kind of nonsense. How about we just not die? He says, why suddenly won't you? He replies, well, we are communicating. We seem to be friends. And there were no demons or angels yet, just beings. He says, all right, there is an artifact. Go and fetch it. Well, Brahma is not a fool either. He immediately came up with another cartoon, another script. He says, well, go and retrieve this artifact. And they went to gather it. It turned out that when they were gathering it, it was difficult to obtain part of the artifact. Some privatized, while others were left with nothing. Those who were left with nothing became very embittered towards those who took the artifact. This was the first conflict that divided them into suras and asuras. They clashed there an infinite number of times. Navaratri, for example, was just recently. It is also the battle of Durga Devi against the demon Mahishasura. And there they are, bickering with each other for no reason. And they also practice, and they delve into reality, and they make contact with Shila. And in general, they engage in a lot of activity.
Is this all happening right now? Do they die or not?
Yes, of course. Their Brahma has already adjusted them so that they live very long, but they are mortal.
And how are they born?
It is given to me that just like us, man, woman, race, child.
So, do they have a gender?
Yes, of course, there is a gender. They were previously genderless, that is a fact. They were described as genderless beings. But then, when the moment for reproduction came, of course, a gender appeared. That is, they have relationships, and sometimes demons even try to take angels as wives. Female entities. They even attempted to take Shiva's wife from him. Shiva's wife has different names.
Yes, there are many of those in Hinduism.
Yes. And when... The funny thing is that there was one story where yet another demon was also after Shiva's wife. Somehow they agreed that Shiva could not refuse him. The scenario unfolds in a fun way. Shiva says, well, all right, go ahead. He approaches him, his wife descends, comes to this demon, and they walk together. He walks proudly, having taken Shiva's wife. At that moment, she assumes her true form, and her true form is an oracle. He is met by a sage who says, "Hey, why are you dragging so much perfume with you?" He replies, "What perfume?" He turns around and there she is, standing there with swords, with a tongue, just as it should be. He is shocked by this because he has no other form. And the sage says, "Listen, release her immediately. What are you thinking? She is going to devour you right now." He lets her go, and it's as if he has released her. The contract is over, and she returns to herself. There are countless such stories. They simply use all sorts of variations available to them.
And what was all this recorded in religion in Hinduism for?
Yes, it was never a religion, it was a science. And now those who are called priests were once called sages. The sages eventually outgrew the priests. It was a science.
Why did they explore these worlds?
Firstly, at that time, humans were in a different state and had many more functions. In the past, during other epochs, there are 4 epochs, we are now in the most extreme and harshest one. There were epochs when a person could actually visit Shiva on the mountain and sit there having tea. It was a possibility for humans. Now we don't have such opportunities. Now I don't know. You have to practice for half a lifetime just to somehow reach your perceptions. What is all this for anyway? The original, the primal cause of everything, comprehends itself, and it comprehends itself through all the possibilities that can be formulated. As soon as some being formulates another possibility, it is immediately realized, and this further enhances the self-awareness of the original, and this spins and turns endlessly until everything collapses into the right hand.
So, according to your logic, is it possible to be reincarnated as such a being in the next life?
Well, you won't have a next life. You will simply reset, and then some part of you may appear in the form of a demon. You will reset. It's like a tree, leaves. Here is a green leaf. It is attached to the trunk, to the branch. At some point it breaks off, falls to the ground, rots, ferments, disintegrates into its components, and after a certain number of years, the roots absorb these juices. What is it? Reincarnation or not reincarnation? For that little leaf, which was green, its personality ended while it was falling. That's it. It no longer exists. But from its parts, a new leaf appeared somewhere else. Is it reincarnation or not reincarnation?
But you said that there is a flow and all that you can enter this flow and consciously preserve yourself.
Well, we are now entering the territory of practitioners. I am telling you about how things stand here right now. If we enter the territory of practice, there is certainly a possibility to return to your flow. But again, the fact that you have returned to it does not guarantee that you will remember it. That is, during the next manifestation in some physical body, all memory will be erased again, and you will have to start moving anew. In other words, whether you experience warmth or cold, you start everything anew. There are variations where you retain memory while starting over, and such cases are even described in Vedic texts, indicating that there were sages who remembered their previous lives and even those before that, but they practiced. They were part of the Brahmin caste. This is not just some ordinary person who died and remembers everything. No, he died and reset. That's it. He no longer exists. That person is gone. But there were practitioners who had trained themselves so thoroughly, who had polished themselves to such an extent that they could retain memory, maintain a linear perception, and could enter and exit through the flow. These are insane practices. They were considered the highest achievement during the Sati era. This is the first era. And now, well, go ahead and try.
How can one now engage in these practices and approach such a level of mastery?
Some of these practices have already been published on my part, as I have a direct connection to this tradition and a direct relationship with these techniques. I provide tools that allow you to make a choice. In most cases, people don't even have a choice. They simply die, and that's it. They grow old and perish. What choice? None. My tools provide the opportunity for choice. A person can choose to return to the flow. They will have enough tools. A person can choose their next incarnation. They have enough tools. But what to do next? What other variations are there? I find such choices uninteresting, and I don't have enough tools to make such a choice, which implies a complete departure from here, beyond the space created by our Creator. I have these tools, I actively use them myself, and I move forward with those people who are at least somewhat interested in this, to break free from this cycle altogether. By the way, I'm not the only one talking about this. Religions like Buddhism, where reincarnation is at the core of everything, seem to suggest that it would be nice to jump out of the cycle of samsara and not to be reborn anymore. That is, even in that very religion which prays for these reincarnations, There is also information that this is not very good at all. In general, I agree with them in this regard that if you are going to apply your efforts, it is better to focus them on something much more significant, and that will happen naturally if you are progressing in your practices.
Where is the best place to start moving forward in the practices?
Any knowledge is best started from the beginning. And this is practically energy. You study yourself, you develop yourself, and you see more and more each time.
This is your course.
Yes, this is my course. It is what taught me. It is what gave me knowledge. You are developing more and more, and your consciousness is becoming broader and wider. You are becoming increasingly aware and perceptive. You understand that it is one thing when I am drawing an analogy now. When you live on, say, 50,000 rubles a month, you have your own system of values and your own causality. When you start living on 50,000 rubles a day after some time, your value system is completely different. This is when you first enter the practice. You have some level of power. Based on this level of power, yes, one can say, oh, I want to be reborn. Oh, I want to escape death. Oh, I want to preserve my memory, all of that. But when you uncover all this power, you say, why do I need this? There's a whole cosmos out there. I want to go there. I'm no longer interested in this. But to survive this, you need to grow yourself. You need to open yourself up. And practices provide the opportunity to reveal yourself. Only from this open state can you make a choice, not from all this fear, from the anxiety of whether you might die, something like that.
Do you want to unlock your inner strength and learn to manage energy? The course, Power of Consciousness 1. Practical energy will provide you with tools to improve health, develop intuition, and gain a deeper understanding of the world. Join and start changing your life right now. Link in the description.